The Truth Commission was thrown into a crisis last week when a man pointed out Truth Commissioner Dumisa Ntsebeza as the driver of a getaway vehicle used in the brutal Heidelberg Tavern massacre. There has been some interesting developments since then. Bennetts told the Amnesty Committee in great detail last week how he identified Ntsebeza's car in Gugulethu shortly after the Heidelberg Tavern attack. And then he identified Ntsebeza as the driver of the car.
Give him a microphone, please.
We are the only people with the orange.
It is the man with the orange top that was in the car.
On Monday, the Truth Commission had an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis. Shortly afterwards, the Commission held a press conference.
It was decided that we would enable Mr. Ntsebeza to speak to the full Commission, which he did. We then asked him, in terms of the Act, to recuse himself so that the discussion could take place openly and freely. He did this. We had the full discussion. We made the decisions that the Archbishop has already outlined, and these were conveyed to Mr. Ntsebeza, who has accepted them.
We made clear our faith in our colleague, Dumisa Ntsebeza. Members of the Commission have worked very closely with him for nearly 2 years in situations of great pressure and sometimes crisis, and we all believe implicitly in his integrity. This must not be construed, however, as representing a judgment on the facts in the current matter. The full Commission did not have all the evidence before it, and even if it did, it quite clearly cannot be a judge in its own cause. To affirm our faith in the integrity of our own processes, we are absolutely committed to the integrity of our processes as laid down by Parliament in the Act which governs our activities, and we believe that the Amnesty Committee's actions have reflected that commitment. To ask the Minister of Justice and the President as a matter of extreme urgency and in the interest of the credibility and integrity of the Commission to appoint a top-level independent inquiry from outside the ranks of the Commission to probe not only the allegations against Mr. Ntsebeza, but the whole handling of the matter from the outset, both by the police and by the Commission. Such an investigation should be completed by the end of this month.
Constitutional Court Judge Richard Goldstone, formerly head of the Goldstone Commission, was appointed the same day to investigate the Ntsebeza matter. This step will probably rescue some of the Truth Commission's credibility. But how much will it help Ntsebeza? Only now, after the damage to his reputation, does the Truth Commission seem to understand the nature of the plot against him.
First, that this matter had been in the hands of the police from 1993, that the amnesty applications nowhere referred to this, despite the fact that the applicants who were in different jails were interviewed separately, that they on no occasion refer to it. And it is very odd. I just as a poor lay person, they are aware that should it in fact turn out that they lied, they did not make a full disclosure, on this matter, on this matter of a Ntsebeza and a car, that they would not get amnesty.
But the drama was still to come.
In this meeting, my personal assistant came along to say that a telephone call had come from Mr. Sibaya, Bennett Sibaya. The upshot of it is he has been sitting with me and who I had Alex and
Legal advisor.
and the legal advisor and two of our investigators. And he says he spent all of yesterday looking for me because he was living under a heavy burden of guilt. And the fact of the matter is that he says he was primed in 1994, January 1994, after being tortured. Was given a photograph of Dumisa and told to memorize the registration numbers. He is still sitting in my office, and we believe that it is things of this sort that an independent investigation is going to have to deal with. I, as a priest, hurt for someone like him, because I can imagine when he says all of this time from 1994, when they arrested him allegedly, he has carried this burden. And he almost begged us, please bring Mr. Ntsebeza. I want to ask for forgiveness from him. And I think, we have said that we want, because he said he wants a public, that to be a public event.
On Tuesday, Bennetts had his public event, and gone was the shabby gardener look he had during the amnesty hearing.
In my side now, I'm free. I'm very sorry to Mr. Taylor. This is my brother.
At that moment, I felt sorry for him. Because he had had the courage to at least own up to what I had known he was doing. To come and say, I deliberately framed Mr. Ntsebeza. Now, so I felt sorry for him. I do not know whether I am able to accept the reasons why he was part and parcel of the conspiracy to frame me. I have my own doubts, but I don't have to believe him.
We spoke to Ntsebeza at the exhumation of the bodies of murdered MK guerrillas in Piet Retief this week. He made it clear that he did not want to preempt the findings of the Goldstone inquiry, but he was clearly angry.
I have never been taken through what I call an emotional pendulum swing from one extreme to the other. On Friday, I had been feeling distressed, not so much for myself, because I've always maintained that Sibaya was one of very many tools that were being used to discredit, certainly me, but I always want to look at the bigger picture to discredit the TRC process. So I was distressed and sad, because here was a person who was being used. But I also was angry angry that I had failed, certainly from the perspective of certain media coverage of that event, to convey to them that I was innocent. And the hollow feeling that I felt was like the feeling that I used to feel whenever I had lost a case defending a client who I knew was innocent, but I had failed to convince the trier of fact of his innocence. That was the feeling I felt. But from that feeling of dejection, there was the feeling of vindication. Vindication in the sense that my peers in the commission, after I had addressed them for 1.5 hours, were all unanimous in the view that they have implicit faith, not only in my innocence, but in my having to continue to do the work of the TRC without having to take a leave of absence. What then Sibaya did after my colleagues had unanimously taken that decision was a cherry on top of the cake.